Hey folks, Nick Wheeler here again at Wheeler Custom Knives. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing how I do a domed and polished pin through my knife handles. First thing I want to say is I want to give credit and thanks and appreciation to my friend and mastersmith extraordinaire, John White. Back in 2010, I was trying to do domed pins and I really wasn't very happy with the results I was getting. And so I called John, kind of begging him on the phone, which wasn't necessary. He very graciously shared his knowledge and experience with me, and that made a tremendous difference to help me get started. And 4 years later, I've done at least a couple hundred domed pins, and the process I use is still pretty much the same as what I started with. And it's not exactly how John told me, because I had different stuff, and so I had to sort of adjust my process to what I had and what I could make work for me in my shop. And that's just how any of this stuff is for any of us. A domed pin, for me, it's one of the last things I do to a knife, and so you really want to be careful with it. You know, it's an easy place to really screw up a knife. I have some fixtures and a little tooling stuff that I made to help me, so I feel more confident when I get to that step that I'm going to be able to do it and get the results I want consistently. And with a lot of this stuff, guys like to give me flack. They say, oh, well, Wheeler will build a fixture to build a fixture. But the truth is, I only make gadgets and fixtures and stuff when I think that it has the potential to help me. So it either make a better product, make it more efficiently, or consistently. And that's definitely the case with these things for the way that I dome a pin. A lot of guys, I mean, fairly traditionally, the approach is to slide the pin through the hole and then just use a hammer and anvil of some sort and flip the thing back and forth and dome it. And now obviously that has worked for a lot of guys for a long time, but it's also really easy to screw the knife up. And this approach that I use, still easy to screw the knife up, but I think less so. I think it's easier to get a consistent outcome. And so if I can invest a little bit of time and make a couple little gadgets that over the course of years are gonna cut down on that anxiety for me and make things easier, I'm all for that. So you know, I do that, and these things that I use for the pin process, they're real simple. I mean, if you can make a knife, you can make these things that I use. So if you stick around for a minute, I will show you the fixture, the little tools I use, and we'll go ahead and put a pin in a knife and get it all finished off, and hopefully that'll help some guys out and it'll be good to go. So let's get started. Now, most of my handles, the domed pins, start like this. We are at the glue up stage right now. This is a fighter. The handles all fit up, and I just assembled everything with Acroglass. Just 1/16 4/16 stainless, just like the actual pin will be. But what we've got going here, I used to glue everything together and then drill the hole. But the problem with that is, even if you have a dead soft tang, when a 1/16 inch bit goes through the wood and then hits the tang, it wants to wander and it'll wallow out the hole, and it just makes a big mess of things. And the other thing, I try to fit my handles fairly close, and so it's not a big old sloppy fit in there. And so when you do that, if you don't have some kind of hole like this, you can put epoxy in there. You can get an airlock where the handle actually won't even fit all the way up tight like it's supposed to. So there's sort of a double benefit of that. So we're gonna put a release agent on this and put this through the handle, and then that's of course going to go through the tang. There's a slightly oversized hole through the tang, and we're going to let the pin sit in there while the epoxy cures. Now, I used to use wax. Lately I've been using
this petroleum jelly. For bedding a handle, I think wax works a lot better, but for whatever reason, the petroleum jelly Vaseline, it seems to work better for this dummy pin, and I don't really know why. But so put some on the pin, put some around the hole in the block, and then like so this is all clamped up tight, and this hole runs all the way through. So it's gonna push it through there. When it comes out the other side, it's gonna push some epoxy out, so you gotta wipe that off, and then just to be on the safe side, I smear a little bit more of this petroleum jelly around the pin, just to make sure that the epoxy is not going to adhere to that pin and lock it in place. Because like I said, we're going to pull this pin out before the epoxy is fully cured. We just got to let that sit for now, and we'll come back to it later. To get the pin out, there usually be a little bit of a bond even that we put the Vaseline on there, and so I'll take a hammer and just tap this. You don't want to wail on it. A swift little tap, and that'll break it free. A little pair of vice grips, and you can twist it out. And so that is why that's why I call it a dummy pin. Is this just a temporary one that goes in there for that purpose? And so now we've got a nice 1/16 inch hole cavity that runs all the way through, and we don't have any pin that's going to hamper our shaping process. But then once this is all shaped, then we can go ahead and get started on putting a nice pretty finished pin in here that will, but it's also going to be a mechanical fastener, so it's a win-win. So it's time to shape this thing.
If you suffer from seasonal allergies, swing by